3-pointed knockout in the human body. What is this? I'm gonna watch this. Okay, we got Among Us on right now. I'm not trying to hear the audio though. Okay.
I sealed it 100 days ago. I set up this jar using nothing but water and sludge from a storm drain. Yep, you heard that right. This water
L
came from a
eats.
heavily
W
polluted
eats. L
sewer
eats.
water.
Yo, stop
At
hating,
first, it was
small snake.
completely cloudy, so I sealed the jar and left it alone for a few days. When the water finally cleared, all kinds of life appeared. Strange worms reacting to movement, tiny crustaceans, even hungry predators searching for careless prey. Then I forgot about it on a shelf for more than 3 months. When I checked it again, algae had taken over, and inside, life or death battles were playing out.
Wait, I don't know how I can eat while watching this. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, who told you to put that on?
I don't know, bro.
Over food. But let's go back to day 1. When I got home, the water in the jars was completely murky from being moved around. Even so, there were already signs of life. Tiny snails gliding across the bottom.
Snails?
And larvae darting through the suspended mud at full speed. But that was only a preview of what I would find inside. By the next day, the water had cleared up quite a bit. Now the inside was starting to reveal itself. Interestingly, the smaller jar cleared first. But for now, let's focus on the bigger one. At the bottom was a thick layer of sludge. Above it sat a small clump of green algae.
So algae
Across
cleans
the surface
water,
of the
actually.
substrate, there were strange crater-like holes. Where do they come from? As it turns out, each hole is home to an animal. More specifically, they shelter these bloodworm larvae. They have that intense red color because of hemoglobin, just like our blood. They need high levels of it to survive in low oxygen water like the drain they came from. Apparently, these animals treat light as a danger signal, so whenever I turn the light on, they quickly retreat back into their burrows. But they are not alone. Another one of the most common residents shows up here, Tubifex worms. I'm not surprised they're here. Their natural habitat is stagnant, polluted water loaded with
So you should put my mic back on my Twitch?
Yeah, I think that's what you should do. Like, if we're not playing Among Us yet.
Like, what do you mean?
Because Twitch is muted.
Wait, you guys can't hear Twitch at all?
Nah.
Twitch at all? Hello? Hello? I think that's just you. Hello? I think that's just you.
Composing organic matter.
What'd you say? What'd you say? There's 4 of us. You wanna say hi to stream? There's 4 of us. You wanna say hi to stream?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Jalen, that's Isaiah. He's in here? Jalen, that's Isaiah. He's in here? Wait, I can hear myself. Wait, what the hell? Oh. What'd you say? All right, let's continue to... All right, join the Discord. Join the Discord. All right. Let me continue the episode, whatever this is.
They live anchored in the mud, with their heads buried while they feed and their tails exposed so they can breathe. That constant motion helps them survive in extreme conditions. They usually live in murky water with very poor visibility, so they've evolved to hide instantly whenever they detect danger. They sense it through vibrations, and many of them react in near-perfect coordination. There are hundreds of them, probably thousands. They completely dominate the bottom, but not all of them stay there. Some have decided to come up and try their luck near the surface. Here they are, clustered
I dare y'all, one of y'all. I will give y'all $1,000 if you drink a little bit of that water.
around the shed skin of a mosquito larva. I'd love to know what they're planning. In the smaller jar, the situation is similar. They clearly dominate the lower half of the jar.
I think you nasty.
To do that, they build deep, complex tunnels where they anchor themselves and search for food. Space is tighter here, so competition is even more intense. Some even leave the water in search of other opportunities. To my surprise, this jar contains species that don't appear in the other one, even though both were collected from the same drain.
That's
One
nasty.
example is this water
What do you
flea,
mean?
bouncing
You said a
through the
little
water
sip
in tiny
for
hops.
1,000?
You would drink this water for $1,000.
You said a little sip. No, I'm not drinking the entire thing for $1,000.
A
Hell
sip.
no.
Do you know how tiny these things are? He's zooming in, bro. You're gonna drink like half of them. You gonna have a whole organism
Okay,
inside
a
your
sip,
body.
yeah, I'm drinking.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta clear my stomach acid though.
Yeah, but like when the worms is all up inside.
And this line right here,
I'm still
these are
drinking a
mosquito
little sip of
eggs,
that for $1,000.
which will soon hatch into small larvae. In fact, back in
Not
the other
convince me
jar,
otherwise, low
we
key.
can see the full life cycle of a mosquito. When those eggs hatch, they become tiny larvae that keep growing until they reach full size. At that point, they enter a protective pupal stage, and a few days later, the final form emerges, a mosquito, ready to escape and bite me as payback for trapping it in there. But this jar, despite its questionable
Why did you let
origins
it
and filthy
out?
water, also has some friendlier animals. As we saw earlier,
You just breeded a mosquito and you let it out? Yo, bro. I feel like we get stupider and stupider as like humans, bro.
there are snails, more specifically bladder snails. They are extremely resilient. They can tolerate polluted, low oxygen
Hell
water,
no.
and they also help clean the system by feeding on decaying matter. But they aren't the only peaceful creatures here. Another classic resident is the copepods. These tiny crustaceans are found in almost every body of water on Earth. They play a vital role. They filter bacteria and microalgae out of the water, improving water quality for the rest of the ecosystem. Well, maybe they're not always so peaceful. They have their disputes too. But up here near the top of the jar, it's not just copepods going about their lives. Other things are happening at the same time. This might look like nothing more than a little stick, but it's about to become the stage for a fight to the death. The beetle is grooming itself with its legs, completely unaware of what is about to happen. Nearby is this carnivorous larva. Its jaws make it obvious that it is not harmless. Once the larva spots the beetle, it climbs onto the branch where everything is about to happen. The beetle stops moving. Its strategy is simple: stay completely still and try to convince its predator that it's already dead. The beetle is still far too small to defend itself. Under different circumstances, the roles might be reversed, but not today. The hunting larva tries to attack the softer parts of its victim, while the beetle stays frozen,
You just letting them
betting
eat
everything
you,
on
bro?
the strength of its shell.
So you're telling me you're just gonna let him bite your legs off, bro? You just gonna sit there and do nothing? Like nothing?
Then something close to a miracle happens. An unsuspecting worm enters the scene and interrupts everything, distracting our predator when it detects a new threat larger than itself. At that moment, it abandons the hunt
All right, my fault, Brody. I guess it worked.
and keeps crawling along the glass. Our little beetle lives another day. It's strange to think these battles happen hundreds of times, even in an ecosystem this small. And on this other piece of wood, dozens of creatures are also fighting to colonize it. Now it's time to leave the jar alone for a long time and see how it's transformed. More than 3 months later, everything has changed. Algae now covers most of the space. The water has also turned slightly green. As for the animals, most species have remained. We can still see snails crawling across the glass. Tubifex worms still dominate the mud, although there seem to be fewer than at the beginning.
I wonder if those
that makes
worms are
sense.
carnivorous.
As the ecosystem stabilizes, less food is available, and populations get smaller. But what surprised me most was that the bloodworm larvae were still there. You'd think these insects would have become mosquitoes by now, and that's true. But after looking into it, I found that if temperatures stay
dude.
low and food is scarce,
That beetle fight
these
back.
animals can delay
Said fight back.
metamorphosis for
You're not
months.
fighting back.
Nature is incredibly smart,
Gonna miss you.
even in behaviors driven purely by instinct. Some organisms that were barely noticeable at first now dominate the environment. Ostracods. We can see 2 species. The orange ones are much larger than the gray ones. But that doesn't stop conflict. These crustaceans may look peaceful, but when food becomes scarce, they won't hesitate to push rivals away from feeding zones. Even though the orange ones are bigger, the gray ones are far more numerous, so in the long run, I think they'll win that battle. I'll leave this jar on the shelf with the rest of my experiments, and eventually I'll make another video to see how it evolves. Who knows, maybe in a few months, or maybe in a few years. Because even inside a simple jar, the story never stops. I hope you enjoyed this experiment. I'll leave you with another jar I made using rocks and river water, where all kinds of insects and predators appeared. Thanks for watching.
Sewer water. So how does sewer water turn to that? That's just like what they call it, astronomical.
100 days ago,
What? That's crazy.
I sealed the jar, and first it was complete.
Look at this. It turned from that to this. What? I didn't think that was possible. All right. Let's see what the Among Us is looking like tonight. We got 5 people on right now. Arctic, the Mirtish, Snake, and myself. We may have to. Yes, ma'am. I'm coming. We're back.